Hello and welcome back to Honey Badger 3D Print and Paint. Today, the Nova3D Bene5. Before we get started, roll those credits. Today's video is brought to you by Skillshare. So they've got thousands of online courses on hundreds of different topics. Check out the video at the end of this for a little bit more information, or check out the link in the video description for a free trial. Now, first things first, Nova3D reached out to us and sent us this machine for free. We did not pay for the machine, but they also did not buy a good review. All the opinions and everything expressed in this video are our own. Can't buy a good review with this channel. The machine is either good or it's bad, and we give you our opinions. So with that in mind, this is a 6-inch resin 2K monochrome screen. So it's got a build volume of 130 by 80 by 150. And I'll be honest, guys, this is ticking a lot of boxes for me. So it's got Wi-Fi built in. There is a fan underneath the unit that extracts a lot of the odor. The whole machine, if we show this here, the whole machine's hood pivots back when you're using it. The main thing for me, something that makes this a perfect machine for beginners, is that this build plate comes level from the factory. There are a few other suppliers who are doing that. These guys have really nailed it, but it means that you do not have to try to level the build plate. You still have to do your Z offset, but that's a very easy thing to do. It can actually be quite hard to level the build plate sometimes, and we're talking about layer heights at 0.05 microns, right? So if you get it wrong by half of a micron, it's a lot, right? So coming pre-leveled from the factory, absolutely fantastic. Tried the Wi-Fi, it works. So it works with Nova3D's slicer, and we'll come on to that in a minute because we'll show you some of the quality prints that we got. You can use Chi2Box with this with a plugin. The plugin is available on Nova's website, and the one thing I will say, or the one thing that I didn't particularly like, was that you can't use the plugin on the latest version of Chi2Box, and we have Chi2Box Pro, and there isn't a plugin for that at all. So the output file format is a CWS format. Now, just to be clear, you can use Lychee Slicer. A lot of people love Lychee Slicer. It's not a slicer I'm familiar with, so I didn't see any particular point in slicing things in Lychee because I wouldn't know any more about that than I would with using Nova's slicer. I did try pre-supporting things in Chi2Box, saving them as an STL file, importing them, and then slicing them in Nova's slicer. It did not like that. So it took a really long time to slice, and then there were errors with the model, and I had a couple of failures, and yeah. It's not that Nova's slicer is bad, it's that I don't know all the settings in it yet. I'm used to Chi2Box, just like I'm used to Cura. And when I'm sort of railroaded into a new slicer, it can be a little bit of a learning curve for me. That being said, Lychee Slicer is very popular, and Lychee Slicer does support this machine. So I really will probably be using that. So it's a linear rail at the back and a nice solid lead screw. It's got inductive sensors. One thing I really like about this, and this is going to sound ridiculous because I don't really know whether or not it makes a difference to the quality, but it makes a difference to the quality of life. This has silent stepper drivers in it, which means that when your Z-axis is going up and down in between moves, it's silent because they're TMC drivers in here. I don't know why almost all other resin printers, you have to put up with this all the time. Because obviously when you're, I know you'd think, oh, well, you're only moving up 0.5 millimeter each time. Or 0.5 of a millimeter. Why does it matter? And the answer is, it does matter, because you actually have resting times, and it moves quite a lot. The noise is actually really annoying, to the point as to which we actually print with resin out in the studio here, rather than being in the workshop with all our other FDM machines, because of the noise. Because when we're on calls or when we're doing something else, we can't have them running. And it's actually an issue in here, because when we're filming videos, we can't be printing with our resin printers because they're just too noisy and the microphones pick them up. So, that being said, this is silent. It has a couple of cool little features. So, the Wi-Fi printing, really good. It also has a vat cleaning mode, where it basically does a few exposures on the whole screen, so that if you've cleaned out your resin tank, but there's still just that little bit in the corners, you can actually basically flash the screen that will cure the resin that's left over in your tank. And then if you're changing to a different colour, especially clear, whatever colour you had in there before doesn't end up mixing with the resin tank that you had before. So that's kind of a cool feature. I want to show you some of the prints that I did. Now, a caveat to the prints that we've done. We're still fairly new to resin printing. We've had photons and things like that back in the day when they first came out. But doing highly detailed models with the new slicer, where you've got to figure out support settings, has proved a bit of a challenge. So we've got things like a head for Captain America. So we've got a Captain America model that we're currently doing. I wanted the head to be in a decent amount of detail, so I've printed him in resin. There's a few things that I forgot to do. So the first thing is, I forgot to hollow him. So he's about 150 grams of resin, which means he's very dense and actually quite expensive. So that was fun. We've got Marvello from Patreon that we subscribed to, and he came out really nicely. He was the last model that we did. And then just before we did him, we did this guy. We did a Ultramarine from Warhammer, and parts of him came out really nice. Parts of him came out really nice, and parts of him, the support settings just weren't right. So we are still playing about with support settings. So try to look at Marvello as an example, rather than necessarily the Space Marine. But he printed in parts, and he was a full build plate. So I really wanted to sort of show you that you can absolutely utilise the whole build volume. And I wanted to show you him as sort of like a work in progress middle ground. So let's show you what these guys look like. So you can see up close, let's get this guy in shot. He's come out really quite nice. So all of his lines are nice and sharp. I cut off this, I cut off the key at the bottom. The key didn't fit. That isn't this, it's the model. None of the keys fitted on this model. This model's from Pop Totem. But you can see the detail in his face really good. He's going to take a flesh tone really well. I need to do a little bit of cleanup with a little brush just to try and get some of the crud off of him. But overall, the model is really, really smooth, and you can see picked out all the detail. This guy was the work in progress that I wanted to show you. So you can actually see, there we go, you can see that some of his details, they just didn't come out right. And that came down to orientation, and it came down to support settings. So he prints completely in parts, right? All these pauldrons are in parts, and the legs are in parts, and all of this stuff. He came out really nicely, but overall, it just didn't come out quite the way I wanted to. You can see that the quality in his legs and things is really good, but this leg isn't, and that's because I did the support settings wrong. And again, he didn't come out as perfectly as he should have done. You can see that even I didn't even glue him as perfectly as I could have done, because I just ripped his arm off. So there's that guy. Then there's Marvello. So Marvello came out much, much nicer. So you can see here all the detail. His moustache came out, all the chains on his swords came out really nicely. I had one little issue, which was just here. This isn't supposed to be there. Again, it comes down to support settings, but he has come out really, really nicely. You can see the fingers on his hands, the fingers on his hands there. You can still see a couple of supports in the back that I've missed, but he's come out really, really nicely. He printed all in one and he printed standing up. So really impressed with how he came out, and the supports came off of him much, much easier. So let's talk price. So this guy currently is $359 US. He's about the same in pounds on the British Amazon as well. Is he worth it? Yeah, if I'm honest. If you're looking for a quality machine and you need that compact form factor, you're going to struggle to find a better machine than this. The only machine I can think of that would give you better results from a sheer quality perspective would be something like a Frozen Mini 4K or the Mini 8K, because this is only a 2K screen. The problem is that at this screen size, that extra pixel density is debatable. It's a law of diminishing returns, so it's debatable as to how much of a difference it would really make in the long run about you know, in the quality of your models. There's nothing about this head that I look at and say, oh yeah, that's not a high enough resolution. That's not given. I can see layer lines. I can't see any. The same on this guy and the same on Marvello as well. All of these are high quality models. The only issue I had with my Warhammer guy, with my little Space Marine, was actually support settings, and that's me, not the machine. So, should you buy one? In fact, let's hold on. Let's do our out of 10. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. And there's only one reason I'm not giving it a 10, and that's that I believe that as a hobbyist community, we have moved past 6-inch screened machines. I believe that we are at a stage now where these are becoming less and less applicable to the kinds of things that we need. Certainly on this channel, a 6-inch machine is unfortunately a head, maybe some hands, maybe some legs, or probably more likely boots or feet. It's not a chest piece, it's not legs, it's certainly not any bases, and it's not weapons or accessories or anything else, because unfortunately 6 inches is a limiting build volume. Now, if you go on something like Gambody, you can actually buy models that are specifically cut for SLA printers, and they are shrunk down to this size. Problem is that means you can't really scale those models because they are already scaled to fit in this. 9 out of 10 is so close to being perfect. And if you have a reason to own, for example, if you're printing Warhammer figures, right? We actually blew this guy up to 150% anyway. So really you could, and then we printed him all in one print, all in one build plate. So you really could actually print really good Warhammer miniatures on something like this. And if that's what you're buying it for, you will struggle to find a better resin printer than this on the market right now. It's got all the features, it's nice and easy to use, you don't have to level the build plate, you can do Wi-Fi printing with it, it's got a little built-in odor diffuser, it ticks all the boxes. The problem I have is I don't print Warhammer miniatures. The channel doesn't print Warhammer miniatures because if we print them, that means we have to paint them. And I have giant hands. Honestly, it's like a medical condition. I don't know how I don't understand how Warhammer people paint things so freaking small. Like I can't wrap my head around it. I'm already concerned about painting this head, and this is just the head. I've got to paint the rest of it. But like, that feels small to me compared to a lot of the things that we do here. I mean, you know, things like the Titan or things like the Star Wars stuff. We do bigger things. 9 out of 10 is really strong. And if you have a use for it, you aren't going to find many, if any, better machines than this on the market. 6 inches is just a little bit too small. If this was an 8.9, it would blow away the competition. It has every feature you could ask for and a few extras. It's easy to use. It's easy to clean. Everything fits together really nicely. You don't have to level the bed. It's a winning formula. Thanks very much for joining us, guys and dolls. Keep an eye on the channel. We've got loads coming up, including some bigger things. Speak to you soon. This video is brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning platform with thousands of courses on hundreds of different topics. Everything from animation through to After Effects, Adobe Premiere, there's things on gardening, bakery, there's even some great courses on 3D printing. We've recently been using it on the channel, and we've started to try and develop our skills in Adobe Premiere so we can edit and grade these videos much better than we do. So, for example, we've recently done a course on color grading with Fred Treveno, and we've also done a piece on how to organize your B-roll with Sean Morton. And it really helped us to change the way we approach our videos. Everything we've been doing up until now has really been fairly basic, and this is helping us to level up and get to that next level. So there's actually a link in the video description. The first 1,000 people to join are going to get a month's free trial. And during that time, you'll be able to access all of the content, all of the courses that are on there, and you'll really be able to learn at your own pace. There's so many different videos out there on how to sort of learn new skills. It can be really difficult sometimes to find professionally curated and produced content that enables you to learn at the level that you want to and allows you to dip in and out as and when you want. So don't forget to take a look at the link in the video description. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks very much for watching this video, guys. Stay safe.